Hey guys, welcome back to the BuzWeaver channel, and in our top stories today, from Georgia Public Broadcasting News, Political Rewind, Fulton Grand Jury subpoenas Giuliani and Trump probe. Now, Fulton County is where you will find the city of Atlanta. That is the county that Atlanta is in. Not too far from where I used to work, actually. I used to work for the Georgia Public Defender Standards Council, which is very close to where all this is taking place. I worked in law for about 5.5 years. Fulton County Special Grand Jury seeks info from top Trump allies. The probe, directed by the Fulton County District Attorney, is investigating former President Donald Trump's failed efforts to reverse his narrow defeat in Georgia. Well, what about the failed effort by the Democrats for 2 years to implicate Russia interfering with our election? Where is the grand jury and investigation to that? Oh, that's right. They keep it all hush-hush, and the FBI has already arrested some of the individuals involved in that, but of course that's not going to be headline news for the mainstream media. Several of Trump's allies, including his former attorney Rudy Giuliani, were subpoenaed. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution, this is from Tamar Hallerman, broke the story, and of course this is basically the headline that I just read to you here. Here is her tweet from the Atlanta Journal and Constitution. But we move over to 11 Alive News, which is here in Atlanta. Lindsey Graham will challenge subpoena in Fulton Trump probe, his attorneys say. Now, of course, as we see now I want to make a distinction here. There is a big difference between the January 6th hearings, which are just hearings, basically, to allow for our government to appear as though they're, making these big strides in our country to improve it and so forth, when in reality, those aren't trials. This is a trial where challenges can be made. Individuals can be cross-examined, discoveries, all these sorts of things can happen, but you're most likely only going to hear one side of the story, potentially. We'll have to see how it progresses, but so far it's been pretty hush-hush, even here in Georgia where I am, which is interesting because this is why I'm going over it now, because it's not as big of a story here in Georgia. You would think it would be, but I think very similarly to what what was learned from the Russian collusion story and the suppression of Hunter Biden's laptop, these individuals have all this strategized. So since they have it strategized, they only want to release or inform people at certain levels, right? So Fulton County, Georgia, here in Atlanta, lawyers for Senator Lindsey Graham said Wednesday that the South Carolina Republican would challenge his subpoena to appear before the Fulton County Special Grand Jury examining former President Donald Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election results in Georgia. Now, he wasn't trying to overturn them. That's the phrasing that they use, the framing that they use. He made a phone call to Brian Kemp asking him about the particular election. Now, we'll go into more of that detail here momentarily. So Senator Graham, along with Rudy Giuliani and several members of the Trump 2020 legal team, and we'll go into those individuals right here, because as you can see here, from the Atlanta Journal and Constitution, Fulton Grand Jury subpoenas Giuliani, Graham, Trump campaign lawyers. And we see here, in addition to Giuliani, those being summoned include John Eastman, Cleta Mitchell, Kenneth Chesebro, and Jenna Ellis, all of whom advised the Trump campaign on strategies for overturning Democrat Joe Biden's win in Georgia and other swing states. So, very similar to what we saw with the Russian collusion story, the Democrats are trying to go after Trump's inner circle. They're trying to go after individuals. Essentially, it is guilt by association, is basically what they're trying to do. Is they're trying to get anyone they can, really kind of as a smear tactic. I don't see Giuliani or Jenna or any of these individuals here actually having committed any sort of a crime, as it were. This is very similar to what they did to Marjorie Taylor Greene here in Georgia not too long ago. And that was really to just trying to smear her and potentially stop her from being able to run. Now think about that for a minute. Here we are in a constitutional republic with democratically elected officials, and some of these officials in government, which is why we have the Constitution to protect us from government, is trying to stop people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and President Trump from actually being able to participate in democracy. Think about that. They are trying to keep people from participating in the very democracy that they say they are willing to protect. If you agree with me, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you to all you who are watching this on new tech sites. Now, You guys know that if you're watching this on the BuzWeaver channel, I am on the cutting edge here. I don't leave anything to question, I guess, in certain aspects. Now, I'm kind of being a bit boisterous there, but nonetheless, I want you guys to listen to this very carefully because since you guys are on the cutting edge, I bring you guys the detailed information. I narrow down the confusion. I eliminate all the tumult and all that kind of distraction to give you guys the direct information. So here we go.
The effort here is to make sure that everybody's vote, legal vote, is counted properly and that the actual results are reflective of the voters' intent. The issue we have in Georgia is, like I just said, it's a close vote. There's other states that have more votes to count than we do, but it's a wide margin, so nobody cares. So this is the first time we've used paper ballots in this state in 20 years. So
the first time we have used paper ballots in 20 years. Votes were still being counted, okay? Votes were still being counted when President Trump made the call. That is very, very rarely emphasized, and that's why I wanted to play Gabriel Sterling here from the Secretary of State's office, because I captured this, and I'm glad I captured this particular briefing for this specific reason. I've been holding this for a long time, or I had the actual article before I actually recorded it, the content, for this particular purpose right here, because I knew one day, the way the Democrats were going, the direction they were working in, this is what they were going to try to do. Now, what is very curious, and the reason why they're making these sorts of strides is, from CBS News, Trump told allies he's considering announcing 2024 presidential bid early, sources say. So he may be trying to go for this now because President Biden is in a terrible, terrible state. We'll talk about that here in just a second. Former President Donald Trump has privately told allies and aides in recent days that he is seriously considering announcing a 2024 presidential run as early as this summer, CBS News has learned. Trump's latest exploration of a political comeback and a potential summer announcement of another presidential campaign was first reported by the New York Times. So we were hearing the wranglings kind of early, but it would be interesting to see if President Trump actually does decide to run, because if he announces now, he will have the advantage of simply being able to come out and say, well, I'm sure many of you remember what it was like under my administration versus what you're currently experiencing under Joe Biden. And of course, as we know from many different meme-style videos, that President Trump essentially called everything that is happening now way before, in his rallies, way before the actual campaign started for 2020. We knew what was going to happen. He talked about it. The Democrats knew what was going on, but they pushed through it anyway, of course, because we were still dealing with the pandemic. And if you guys are wondering what that little pop-it is, it's my timer. I was trying to figure out what that was the other day. It's my timer. You can see here, Joe Biden's disapproval is at 56.8. Tremendous. And that's with an 18.4 margin of error. So he could be even higher than 56.8 disapproval. And this is why I think maybe President Trump should consider running. Because right now, I mean, all Trump has to do is come out and say, well, folks, I told you this was going to happen. We're seeing it happen right now. And under my administration, I would work to correct and fix all this to get us back on track. Thank you very much. See you in November. Pretty much that would be his starting line. And he could, of course, challenge Joe Biden on many different things. And, of course, any sort of political debates that he would like to have, he could do that. So it's going to be it's a very difficult spot for the Democrats right now. And I think Trump could potentially do this. And I think it would be maybe kind of quite successful for him to do it. Of course, here's the hearings that they're continually trying to smear Trump with. And I think he should go for it. I think it would give him more center stage access. He would be more center of information and news. Of course, it will be interesting to see how the Democrats react to that. But nonetheless, guys, that's what I had for you guys today. Thank you so much for the likes, the shares, and the comments. For all of you on New Tech, thank you for your support appearing there on the screen. Be the channel icon for you guys to click on to subscribe, as well as to click notifications so you know when there's content here on the channel. And I will probably see you guys in the Friday vlog.